Everyone, welcome to Plants and Politics. I have an update to share about one of Trump's Capitol insurrectionists. It's time for an episode of Where Are They Now?
Matthew Bledsoe was arrested.
Patrick Montgomery was in court.
Jonathan Manapa will stay in federal custody.
No, I don't take responsibility at all.
So the trial for January 6th defendant Couy Griffin began this week, and it's already over. It ended with a guilty verdict, which I'll explain in a minute. But first, Griffin is a 40-year-old New Mexico resident. He's the founder of the group called Cowboys for Trump. He's also a New Mexico County commissioner. And he once said in a video that, quote, "The only good Democrat is a dead Democrat." Totally sane. Nonviolent guy, right? And according to prosecutors, he also vowed to return to Washington, D.C. on the day of Biden's inauguration with weapons. He also allegedly told FBI agents in an interview that he hoped that the next protest would go down without a single shot being fired. But he said that there was, quote, "no option that's off the table." Oh, and did I mention he used to be a pastor? Yeah. And he's known for making racist videos mocking Native American rights and for telling the National Football League players to, quote, "go back to Africa and form your little football teams over in Africa. And you can play on an old beat out dirt lot and you can play your Black national anthem there." That was all because they played a certain song at one of their games. People wonder why I stopped going to church and why I'll never go back. And this guy's a real man of God, huh? Yeah. Anyway, Griffin didn't actually enter the Capitol, but he was seen on video within the restricted area. So he was arrested on January 17th of last year. He was charged with only 2 misdemeanors: entering a restricted building or grounds and disorderly conduct in a restricted building or grounds. So Griffin decided he was going to fight the charges in court. But rather than a jury trial, he said he wanted a bench trial, meaning that the judge would act as the jury and make the final decision as to his guilt or his innocence. And Griffin declined a previous plea deal that had been offered because he believed he could prove his innocence. He believed that he could get off of all charges. And here's why. The charge of entering restricted building or grounds is reliant on the fact that Mike Pence, then Vice President Mike Pence, was still on Capitol grounds when Griffin entered the restricted area. If he wasn't, then the prosecutor's case, especially for that particular charge, kind of falls apart in regard to entering a restricted building or grounds. Well, Griffin's legal team kept trying to get Secret Service to reveal where Mike Pence was. You know, he wanted them to reveal Mike Pence's location during the attack, but they kept refusing to say for obvious reasons, right? Because, of course, they don't want to reveal where this hiding place is in case Pence or others need to use that secure location again. Well, the judge sided with Griffin. He ruled that Secret Service agents must testify as to Pence's whereabouts on January 6th. So on Monday, Griffin's trial began, and a Secret Service agent took the stand, and she testified that Pence was, in fact, on the Capitol grounds. She said that after he was evacuated from the Senate floor, Pence and his family were taken to and held in an underground loading dock area below the Senate wing of the building. And anyone who's been paying attention to the January 6 cases and the surrounding news, they would have known that Pence never left, because that's what Griffin was contending, that, oh, he wasn't there, so this charge, it isn't even relevant. First of all, there were photos. There were photos that were released by a reporter named Jonathan Carl, and they showed that Pence and his family appeared to be in a loading dock area. Second, Pence admitted that he refused to leave the Capitol. There were reports floating around about Pence fearing that he would be whisked away to another location, and then he would be denied the ability to return to the Capitol to complete the certification of the Electoral College votes. It was implied in these reports that Pence suspicioned that Trump would have him sequestered somewhere. So there, he wouldn't be able to return to fulfill his constitutional duty to certify the election. I mean, considering what lengths Trump was willing to go to in order to steal the election, I can understand his concern. So Judge Trevor McFadden presided over this case, and the prosecutors first showed video of Griffin climbing over a stone wall that was effectively the Capitol's first security perimeter. Then he was seen walking over mesh fencing and bicycle racks that had been knocked down by Trump's other insurrectionists and domestic terrorists. They didn't say that he personally knocked any down. He just walked over downed fences and bicycle racks. Then prosecutors also showed a video of Griffin. He was standing on Biden's inaugural stage, or what would be his inaugural stage, and he was yelling to the crowd in a bullhorn. He also prayed with them, and he was up there for over an hour. In addition, Griffin had brought a videographer with him that day. It was a man named Matthew Struck, and prosecutors gave Struck an immunity deal. And so he turned over all of his video evidence to the prosecutors. Well, in his videos, Griffin admitted that the police told the crowd not to enter the area of the inauguration stage. So he admitted that he did what the police told him not to do. In another video, Griffin was heard saying, quote, "Mike Pence sold us out." And then he said that it would become, quote, "less and less peaceful if essentially laws weren't followed, like election laws weren't followed." Unfortunately, when Struck took the stand, this videographer guy, he continuously downplayed Griffin's actions, and he claimed that he either couldn't remember or, I couldn't hear what he was saying in that part of the video. And these were things that prosecutors believed were proof that Griffin had ill intentions that day. So after both sides presented their case, Judge McFadden said, quote, "It's not clear to me Mr. Griffin knew he was entering a restricted area when he climbed over the Olmsted wall. But by the time he climbed up to the inauguration stage, he certainly knew he shouldn't be there, yet he remained." So he says that, but then McFadden said, in regard to the disorderly conduct charge, prosecutors failed to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Griffin knew that Congress was still in session and that they hadn't completed their work to certify the election. And his videographer pretty much helped him out with that and said, "Oh no, he told me that, it's all over, blah, blah, blah." And that was key in proving that disorderly conduct charge. So in issuing his ruling, Judge McFadden said, quote, "I think there's ample evidence Mr. Griffin knowingly entered a restricted area. So therefore, the judge found Griffin guilty on that one count of entering a restricted building or grounds, but he found him innocent on the disorderly conduct charge. So Griffin now faces up to 1 year in prison and up to $100,000 in fines. And Judge McFadden offered to sentence him today, but his attorney declined that offer. So his sentencing has been scheduled for June 17th. I will definitely keep you guys up to speed on that. It's important to note, too, that Griffin had already served 2 weeks in pretrial detention. So that may factor into his final sentencing. So we'll see. Not the best outcome for this trial, but at least he was found guilty on something. And this at least lets other January 6 defendants know that they can't use Pence's location as a defense. So we'll have to see if McFadden chokes on the sentencing or if he's realistic. But, if he gives him the standard slap on the wrist, if he gives him like time served and probation only, it's complete bullshit, right? This guy had a chance to take a plea deal. And I believe they offered him a plea of a lesser charge of parading, which we've seen so many times. So you guys know that comes with a much lower sentence and much lower fines. I mean, we're looking at a year versus what he would have gotten with the plea. It was up to 6 months. And now he's looking at up to 100,000 in fines, whereas if he had taken the plea for parading, it would have been as low as 5,000 or less. So he turned his nose up at that. He wasted taxpayer money when he clearly committed a crime. He was clearly within a restricted area that he knew he wasn't supposed to be in. So if the judge doesn't take that into consideration, if he just treats this like all of these other people who did take a plea, I'm going to be pissed. And what this judge decides is going to impact every other case. I mean, we've got a few months before we'll know this guy's fate, but if he lets him off, like I said, with the typical slap on the wrist, then everybody's going to want to just waste the court's time. I mean, they may have to pay for an attorney if they can afford one, or that will also be on our taxpayer dime to pay for an attorney for them. But I'll let you guys know when I hear more. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Take care, and I'll talk with you soon.